Welcome, everyone, to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time favorite, most wonderful, best of all times co-host, Jen
Wow.
Albanese.
Hello, Maury. How are you?
Hi,
Welcome to the
Jen.
podcast.
I
Hello.
know. Very exciting to have
Yes.
someone, Andrew, who's coming today, who has this incredible marketing background, has like a diverse group of clients from all different backgrounds in sports, and comes from the world of working in Sirius FM, XM. I need to be able to say that.
There you go.
Maybe we can get onto their platforms at some point.
Yeah.
And then
Shout out.
then like Octagon Group, like he's just done a lot of really interesting things with being representative and promotion of people in the world of athletics. So hopefully people will really enjoy what he has to say, because I think he'll have some really cool things.
He also has some really cool opportunities for students out there that are looking to get into like that more agency side of sports. So I think it'll be a really good conversation.
Yeah.
For anybody interested in that. So
Yeah,
it should
awesome.
be a good conversation. Yeah.
So Graham, my son, tonight,
Yeah.
one of your favorites, decided that he wanted a donut. Now, the Dunkin' Donuts was closed by the time we were able to get there because we had a lot going on, whatever it is. But it made me think tonight, one, you worked in a bakery, which I think is very interesting to begin with.
I did.
And number two, that donuts are regional. That's the other thing that I think
They're
regional. Like certain places have certain donuts. Like
okay, yes. I thought you meant like you can't get a donut in California.
No. That's a bad way to do it. I didn't say it the right way. But like up here in upstate New York, like a headlight donut is like a thing. But if you go somewhere else, no one knows what a headlight donut is.
Yeah, or like a half moon. They call it different names in different parts. Like they call it like a moon pie or a black and white. Black and white, yeah. Yep.
We were talking with one of the people that works with me is from the city and like from New York City, and they called it black and white. But if you come up to upstate New York, it's a half moon.
It's a half moon, yeah. So yes, I did work in a bakery. Shout out to Lincourt Bakery. I started when I was like 14 years old. It was like right down the street from my house where I grew up, and I worked.
See, if I did that, I'd have to be rolled out of work every day.
No, well, because if you're around it, you kind of, not I don't want to say like get sick of it, but like you just don't. You don't need it. You don't want it. But so I worked there from when I was 14, and then I did it almost all the way through college. So a really long time.
That's crazy.
And I learned a lot from working at the bakery. I loved it. Obviously I'm a people person. So at the counter was always fun for me to chat with people, but like I learned how to frost cakes. I learned how to write on cakes. I learned all that fun stuff, but, yeah. I mean, obviously, like if I showed up to work and I was hungry, it wasn't a good thing because I would just like
nibble
munch on stuff. I was always the person like in high school that would bring the donuts to the party. Like I'd be like, oh, I'll bring half moons. There you go. I'll bring chocolate chip cookies. I'll bring, glazed donuts or jelly donuts or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, I worked in a coffee place when I was really young, and I don't like coffee now. Like and I never
Did you like it then, though? Did you like
no,
it then?
I think I think it just turned me off to it by the end of it, because I was just like making so much coffee, and it was never something that I really loved. And I think that was kind of it.
Well, I think for me too, it was like I always smelled like fried food when I left the bakery, because you were like, it was like a fried donut or like, you're cooking bread or, baking bread, not cooking, baking bread. But I like always like stunk. I had like that smell. So I was always like, yeast smell. Yeah. So yeah, it was fun, but yeah,
Well, I'm sure that's also like where you got your like working with people and how personable the on-court persona that you have developed over the year.
Oh yeah. Just the people skills that you learn from working in any sort of retail or restaurant, service industry type thing, like whether it's at your coffee place or, I mean, that's a skill that you learn real quick how to deal with
people. Someone said like being a waiter was like the best. I can't remember who said that.
I can't remember either, but yeah.
But said like being a waiter was like the best job that
it trains
Eileen Pesca, like it trains you to be able to work with people. So no, it's a good example. Well, with that,
all those jobs back when you grew up still help you today.
It helps you. And I'm sure Andrew will point out some things that will be good to learn now that you'll be able to learn for the future when we get back from these messages. Bye.
All Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. Today's guest lives right at the crossroads of athletics marketing. With several years of experience in the world of sports marketing and brand partnerships, he builds a career around helping elite athletes amplify their voice, grow their personal brand, and form lasting connections with companies that reflect their values. As the founder and president of Athelo Group, he leads a dynamic internal creative team and manages a diverse roster of 20 professional athletes across multiple sports and leagues. From crafting detailed partnerships, recapped align the strategic KPI, to collaborating with players' associations and teams to ensure compliance and maximum opportunity, his approach blends data-driven insight and out-of-the-box thinking. He's passionate about consumer behavior, driven by a talent for uncovering unconventional solutions, and committed to empowering athletes to realize their full potential on and off the field. Please welcome to the podcast, Andrew Stalling. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're really excited.
They always make me sound so much better. So much better.
No, it's well earned. And,
yes.
You know, we had a student of ours reach out that's working with you and said, hey, we got a guy that you need to meet. And we are super excited to connect with you and learn about all that you're doing in your world of connecting professional athletes and helping them grow their exposure and their experience. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, no, very much appreciate the opportunity. And I mean, kudos to both of you. I mean, this is such a critical and untapped area of focus, just in terms of educating people that want to get into the industry, just because it is so broad. And, you know, hopefully we can touch on that a little bit today, because I think even just from having many of, you know, the students that come from your university and beyond that, you know, step into our program from an internship perspective, I think they usually leave very eyes wide open, but in a good way, in the sense of, wow, I never thought that this was just an opportunity. Like, there are so many different facets of the world of sports and entertainment. And that's always something that, you know, is probably going to bleed into my first tip when we get into it.
Well, we don't want to hold you back. So get going.
Go.
Let's hear that first tip.
No, I think it's critical to kind of have a very independently structured outlook on whatever it is industry wide that you're looking at. So, you know, obviously our topic and focus this evening is really looking at sports and entertainment, sports business, sports management, sports, right? But when you look at any facet of a degree or major of study, you know, going into university, it's oftentimes a word that a lot of people hang on to and they latch onto, and they think, oh, it's just surface level. It's very much like, you know, looking at an iceberg. It's that big thing, but really don't realize how deep it truly goes. Yeah. And I take it upon myself anytime that we bring in new interns, or even just when I speak to, you know, young individuals looking to break in or even look for that next step in their career, to look at and really understand just the diversified scope and world that there is of an offering in sports. Because typically you hear people think, oh, if I want to work for a major sports team, I have to go and get into ticket sales. Like, that's the only way to do it. Or I have to have experience working with an athletic department and something like that. There are certainly ways and methods that have conventionally been proven as trial and tested, you know, to find your way to a certain spot. But, you know, would you take me, for example, my first internship was with SiriusXM Radio in Washington, D.C. in college. And I ended up turning that into a part-time job and then a full-time job, where I did so many different things within the sports media department. So I did on-air work, I did production work, I did AV. So even that alone, people think, oh, sports media, like you're either just, talking about sports on a microphone or you're cutting up the audio and that's it. And it's just like, man, you have no idea. Like stepping in to behind the scenes of a Sirius XM studio is mind blowing in so many ways. From there, I've worked with Octagon, which is one of the biggest global sports agencies in the world, for several years. People think, oh, you worked with Steph Curry and Simone Biles and Michael Phelps. And I'm like, I did not work. I think many people in Octagon would be very insulted if I even remotely said I even snuffed my way into a meeting. But no, but there's a talent division, there's a properties division, there's a financial division. There's so many things that go into those big global agencies.
Right.
And it probably wasn't until that point in my career where I was just like, whoa, there is so much that you can do. There's experiential marketing, there's sampling events. It's just so fascinating when you really can kind of step back and analyze what opportunities truly exist. And it really does begin with understanding business. It understands with consumer behavior. And that doesn't need to be like the very theoretical and analytical versions of business. It's taking a look in the mirror and just realizing we're all consumers, right? Like we drink San Pellegrino waters. So, what is their marketing? What's their strategy? How does it get sold? Where is it shelved at? So you start really going down that funnel, and you can do it in the same token with your career in sports. And if you look at it in the same way and realize, where does working in sports start and where can I how far can I spiral it down to? I think every young individual and even any veteran professional in this industry owes it to themselves to remind themselves to do that exploration exercise. I myself, 7 years of running an agency, 17 years in sports entertainment, still am always taking time quarterly to vet and explore new opportunities that are being brought up, whether that's with the world of Web3 and digital media, whether it's venture capital. There's an evolution, and we're all living in this Renaissance era. So as much as it's daunting right now when people are like, oh, I'm so scared to get into sports and get a job. Oh my gosh, like I'm not going to make any money. I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're living in a Renaissance era. That Renaissance era is coming out of typically a very depressionary event in life, economically, politically, whatever it is. And people don't even realize it. It's a really, really exciting time to be in sports.
That's awesome. And it's so cool to see that you're pulling in so many different avenues, and clearly your clients are benefiting from it because you're not just focusing on one thing. You're looking at how can you get these things connected? How can you do all this exploration? And it takes experience and takes getting connected with people like your company and getting involved to understand like what these things are. You just can't just jump out of the box and do it, I'm guessing.
No, you can.
It might not lead to great results.
Yeah. I mean, well, I would say in today's society, especially, there's a lot of people, it's easier to become an agent or a talent manager than ever before. I think once people started snuffing out that they technically don't need a legal degree to do some of this stuff, they could start being snake oil salesmen to a lot of people. And when you start preaching to even the wealthiest athletes in the world, hey, I can make you more money. They're very vulnerable to believe that. So they're not going to be checking your resume and who you know. It's basically like, well, that guy said he can make me $1 million next month. So, I mean, who are we to not believe that? With that being said, though, it is something that takes time because sports is a very relationship-based business. And I think if it's okay, that'll bleed over into voila, tip two.
Perfect. You got it right there.
Yeah. So I think relationships are just so undervalued still in today's world. And, some people listening and even yourselves may think like, oh, no, it's not. Come on. Like, we tell everybody relationships are everything. But a perfect example, our internship program at Athelo Group is structured more like an apprenticeship program. It's very different. It is elephant in the room. It's an unpaid internship for 6 months. Typically, we are asking anybody who comes in to ensure that they're getting college credit, but we roll up our sleeves to really ensure that it is getting exposure to different senior level marketing executives, people within leagues. We're bringing them in for thought leader events. We're flying many of these students into our office, taking them to sporting events, getting behind the scene tours. Like, we're trying to really shape it as like a very hands-on experience to that. Even with all of that, it is remarkable to me at the end of the 6-month tenure, who still keeps in touch, who goes out of their way to just be like, hey, Andrew, thank you so much. Like, if for nothing, like, this was really cool. Not just like a surface level, hey, cool, thanks, it was really cool. Yeah. Whatever. Like, it's like I didn't need to fly you guys in. I didn't need to introduce you to my contacts. But, I think it's very easy in the era that, I might age the three of us a little bit, but I'm sure we're all in the same age bracket and say, like, it was a different generation probably when, our parents were grooming us and saying like, it was the yes culture, right? Like you were the first person in, last person out, no matter what. Like, it's just how that culture was. And I think that culture still is bled over into the world of like legal and, stuff like that. But, there's enforcements to those rewards if you can, stand the test of time. In sports, your incentives are, hey, I got you 2 nosebleed tickets to the Knicks game tonight if you actually sell 10 times more than any other junior sales associate this quarter. So it's different, but all of that is based in relationships. And, the number one thing I tell people when, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so cool, you've done so much. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, I'm 37 and I feel like I've lived a career that would make a 70-year-old cry. Like, I'm very, very lucky. I'm very privileged, but none of that doesn't come with the right people and the right opportunities that have given me those shots and understand and looked me square in the eyes when I've told them, like, in my heart of hearts, that I'm not going to let them down. I will do whatever it takes to find a solution. I will be that guy. I wish more people would have the moxie and the gall to look me in the eyes and say, I'll do whatever it takes for you. I will do whatever it takes. And it's like, okay, I would love to test you on that mantra. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
It's different culture.
Yeah, I would say it's a different, like you said, there's, the different generations. Our generation, yes, we are all in the same kind of age, area. But like this generation, I think it's like more of what can we do for them? What can they get out of us? And not more what can they do for us? And the relationships are so key. I think we've had people say that before, but like the way you just described it of like, that is like how you became successful is the relationships that you built. I think that's so key. And people like you said, surface level will say, oh yeah, I've got relationships, but I can look back. I think I have maybe 5 interns, and all the time that we've had interns that still keep in touch with me and follow up and see how everything is going and keep me informed on what's going on in their life. Like 5 out of probably 500 that we've had.
It's funny. I was thinking the same thing, and I was thinking those people usually the most successful of the group that we've had in the past. Exactly. Like the one I'm thinking how different that is of those ones that have kept in touch, keep those networks going. And those are the people getting those bigger jobs. And while the other ones, maybe it takes longer for them to keep getting through and getting to that next step. So it's reflective in like what you said. I was like thinking of that as you said it, like, oh, wow, that's right. Those people do land those bigger opportunities or doing more with what they've done.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that it just seems so taboo, right? I mean, we talk about networking, we talk about relationships, and again, I just think back to my time when I was a 24-year-old at Octagon, leaving to go to my next job, and I was telling our senior vice president on one of the biggest accounts that we had, hey, I'm leaving, but please still like me. Like, can we still be in touch? Can I still, can I do a referral? And he kind of looked at me. He was just like, and I give him a lot of credit. I certainly know that he was not pleased with me leaving when I did, but I remember him looking at me and he was like, that's completely up to you. Like, that's your discretion. How you form and shape these relationships and how you so choose to stay in touch is completely up to you. Yeah. And that always sat with me because, it is up to me. And depending on the output of how much I truly continue to show up and show out for people, no matter what the circumstances are of whether I burn them, involuntarily or anything else, it is something that we do dictate and hold the control of relationships in a big way. And it's a power move. Like it's something where we don't realize how much as a society that people like leaders. Like we poo-poo confidence. We talk about like, oh my God, they're cocky, they're this. And there's something to be said for an over and abundant amount of cockiness. But I'll be damned, apologies, at times, if it's not one of those things where we, in the end, want to be surrounded by confident leaders. We want to be surrounded by people that know what they want, regardless if it fits us or not. If you know what you want, nothing's more attractive, whether you're an employer, whether you're a spouse, whether you're a friend. Like it's something that, you know, in today's society, knowing and kind of being able to have that, not control is the right word, but just having that self-awareness and confidence, it's just often overlooked so much. And it's something, if you can develop that trait earlier on, you're going to be set up for success tenfold.
Awesome. Absolutely. Great tip. Okay. Time for number three.
Yes. Number three.
I always tell people being proactive is the number one tool that you can equip in your arsenal. It's hard. It's really, really, really hard to be proactive, because I'll never forget the amount of bosses I had in my life that would give me the worst feedback, whether it was a presentation deck, whether it was, you know, out of a meeting, out of an event or anything. It just, they unloaded emotionally, they left, and I would get like 1-sentence emails, and I would just be expected to like almost solve this Rubik's Cube overnight. Those now are some of the best bosses I've ever had, because they put me in a position to independently manage and problem solve very quickly. It's hard because I think you talked about it a little bit, Jennifer, from the beginning. It's like, what are you doing for me culture, right? Which let's give the society a bit more credit. It's not everybody, but we see it more often. I think is a fair assessment.
Absolutely.
With that being said, it is one of those things where when you step into the workplace, when you step into a job interview, one of the things that I look at, because I'm always our final interview in the interview process, and I address the room from the very beginning. I say, I have looked at your resume for a total of 12 seconds max. I've skimmed it, and I have a page of notes from the people that have interviewed you. I have looked at it for 4 seconds max. What I want to make sure and I understand is what I can do for you in this internship that's going to be able to accelerate you to the next level, what gets you excited and what makes you tick. And typically you can tell in 15 seconds from that who is going to put up their feet and relax the rest of the interview and just coast and think, I got this, or they're going to still keep it very dialed in, very respectful, very professional, but they're going to turn what is basically a defensive mode into an offensive mode, and they're going to turn around on me, and they're going to come at me with 20 questions and asking this, and you know, how could you do this? Do you do this? And those are the people I love. Even if you've had 3 rounds of interviews and people have answered all these questions 10 times over, I have done over the years, humbly, at least 50 podcasts, probably 35 keynotes, like all these things. I'm no expert, I'm no wizard, but I'm also not hard to find. Right. You Google the name, you can see something I did on YouTube. Even if it is 4 years old, you can pick up on it by now. I'm pretty long-winded. So bringing some of that to the table and being able to apply it in a proactive manner is so undervalued and so easy at the same time. For someone like me, I always look for that. And I know many of my peers are the same way. Some people just want worker bees. That's fine. But being a worker bee comes with that much more of a moxie and acceleration factor to success in an efficient way. If you're the worker bee that is constantly curious and you're looking at ways to not only elevate anything that you're doing in a silo of success, but by bringing the village with you. And that proactive nature, by addressing and looking at problems 10 steps ahead, is so difficult to find, at least for me.
Jen and I actually were doing an interview, and it made me think about what you said, is that there was a young man that just said, went so much deeper, knew about our organization, was saying things about questions. And I mean, it was Jen's interview, so I don't want to take her thunder.
We're in that mode right now, and we've done a couple the last few days, and you're like hitting on every single point that we were talking about of just, it sets them apart if they are curious. I love that. That's that point of like being curious, and it sets you apart. So it's great.
It definitely was a difference between the person before them, the person after them. That was just like, well, this is a blanket, easy statement. They could have probably found it on our website, like some things that they wanted to answer, to a person that was like, well, I have a really specific question, and this is something that I'd really like to get out of being a part of your organization. I was like, wow, that's a really strong
like all of us
response.
in the room like woke up like, whoa, okay, this isn't just a ChatGPT response that everybody is giving us, I mean, it was good. It was good.
No, that was awesome. Well, great tip. Number 4, we're getting down to the end here.
Number four.
Yeah. I live and die by this one. And it's just community over currency. So it kind of touches a little bit onto, what we talked about on the front end of the tips, but also alluding to the inevitable. You probably hear it every single episode. You got to network, like network. But, on top of networking, on top of relationships, which are, crippling buzzwords in today's society, the number one word, whether it's in sports, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in business, that is taking over, I would say in the last like 6 to 12 months, is community. Anything that you do that can have a reactionary effect to the people surrounding you and draw attention, emotion, behavior, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a superpower. It's a superpower in so many ways. And very quickly, when you're starting a business the way that I did, $20 in an LLC filing 7 years ago, with 2 buddies of mine, you look at everything very much penny to penny. Now, we're a multi-million-dollar agency in revenue, humbly, like never taking any private capital. We've turned down acquisition offers. Like we're pissing a lot of people off, like a lot of good things to like kind of flaunt your chest about. But none of that comes without leaning into more of a community mindset and an empathetic mindset first over the money value. There have been some months, and my wife has heard it time and time over again on the home front, where I'm just like don't order like anything. Like we're poor. Oh my God, this is terrible. And she looks at me, she's like, what? But like we get so like strapped on the money front, but what we sacrifice in that does eventually manifest itself to greater opportunities with the right opportunities. And I mean, I can't get into specifics about it, but I would say in the last 3 months, that mindset has not been more prevalent than it is currently for myself. We just had a great forecast to start the year, and then boom, like just 7 programs that we had blew up, millions of dollars out the door. We're like, yay, this is so fun. We run a business. And then, you weather the storm, and you don't weather the storm by just gritting and bearing it and work. But you take a second, you pause, you look around, and you put your time, your effort, and energy into people. You put it into stuff that really matters to you. You put it into programs that may not necessarily make you millions and millions of dollars, but it's going to make you feel like millions and millions of dollars. And those moments do come around. Yeah. They absolutely manifest themselves. And I'm a big believer in that. Like, I'm not super spiritual, religious, or anything like that, but I do feel like at this point in my career, my life, there have been so many moments where I took a step back to get out of the rat race, and I just repositioned and recalibrated my focus to things that really meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to people in my life, and things that could affect a lot of people. And that solution to that problem ultimately solved 10 other problems, including 10 other problems of my own. So think about it less about the economic value to like, how can I hurry up to make 6 figures by the time I'm 25? And think about it as, okay, how can I diversify my resume to show that I have a very unique and equipped skill set while also experiencing life from different thought leaders and mindful business leaders that puts me in this unique position that by the time I'm 30 years old, sure, I'll be making a lot of money, but I'm going to feel so secure, not just on the job front, but as a person.
Yeah.
Like, we often lose so much sight of that personal value and connection because in sports, it's really, really, really hard. I know everybody hears this. It's not for the weak of heart. I think I read a stat the other day that it was like over 68% of people that actually go to school for sports and sports management end up not actually sticking through it. In it by the time they're 25. So it's something where you have to remind yourself that, it's what you're doing is a passion. The same way that nurses do what they do, the same way teachers do it. They certainly don't always do it for the end goal of making tons and tons of money. You have to find that emotional connection to what it is that you're doing. And that's driven a lot typically by community.
That's awesome. It's just planting that seed, getting that group. And that's definitely a way to say it that no one else has before on the podcast. So we definitely appreciate that, because you're right. People hear that word networking all the time, and it's such a different thing between that and building a group around you that can be a stable force for changing your life and developing your career. So what a great tip. So awesome.
So good.
Jen, you ready?
I'm ready. All right. The last one, Andrew. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
It's only going to get harder. And, and, I mean that in not like a debilitating scare tactic way, but it's not just your career that's going to get harder. Your life is going to get harder.
Yeah.
And whether that is, marriages, kids, houses, deaths, anything, there's so many circumstances that do present, let's call them hurdles, humbly, right? That we all have to kind of overcome in order to make it to, what we deem the promised land of retirement, 50s, 60s, 70s, which we're all kind of staring that in the eyes now. We're like, oh God, that's sooner than later. But I know. But it gets harder. And at the same token, nothing's going to change. Like the work will get harder. The opportunities are going to get harder. But in that same token, the rewards get sweeter. And they don't get sweeter just because of what you're rewarded. It's the lesson that accompanies the reward. And it's very much like modern day, I say this, none of these kids were probably even born in the 90s who are listening to this, but it's like 90s, like ABC sitcom and Nickelodeon reality shows. It's like, oh, here comes the hook at minute number 24 of the episode, like of the 30-minute episode. It's like, oh, wow, like we learned a lesson today in the outcome.
There's the lesson.
There it is. Right. But it is life. Like it genuinely is, accompanying like these outcomes, these rewards, these bonuses, these gifts, and people like they want to celebrate. Like I get it. I have had so many huge wins in my life, far more than I care to ever elaborate on, and I will take it to my grave. But for every major win, I've had probably 20 to 25 diabolical losses, like stuff that just cripples me in so many ways. And you have to understand that there is balance. And I will also go on the record to say that even with all of these like good, bad rewards, everything that comes with it, it does go back to a key word that I still myself struggle with as a business owner, as a husband, as a father every day at 37 years old. And that's balance. If there is anything that anybody can take away from this, it's please, 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 like be selfish in the sense that you don't need to be on your phone all the time. You don't need to be checking emails all the time. Like make time for your friends, make time for your family, make time for yourself. Because it is a catalyst in so many ways. And it definitely affects your mental, your physical, your relationships, everything. So, again, I say that from a very intimate space in my life where I still struggle with it, and again, I'm very happy, I'm very successful by technicality, but, for as much success as I've had professionally, I still wish I had more success in a lot of other areas of my life that I look forward to finding still. But again, we talk about where's the reward that comes with the lesson? Like, I'm still seeking those the older that I get.
Well, awesome. Andrew, it's been such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for sharing it, all your insight, and just all the things that I know anyone listening to the podcast is really going to be able to pick up and appreciate. So thank you for that. And with that, we'd love to share. Do you have anything coming out or things that our listeners should be looking for and down the pike for you guys?
I don't think so. Follow us on social media at Athelo Group, www.athelogroup.com.
Definitely sounds like there's internships that you're offering out there that people could definitely pick up on.
We are. Typically, our internship program like I said, 6 months. So we start January 1st to July 1st, and then July 1st to December 31st. So recruitment periods are typically 3 months before those windows open up. So feel free, send your resume, media@athelogroup.com.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's so great. But this was such a good conversation, and really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, and everybody for listening. And make sure you follow us on our socials as well at @AthCareerPod, and on all of your podcast platforms. New episodes are every Tuesday. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.